To the person who spends more time prepping than grilling, hi, your Safeway PA announcer here. Our medium ground chuck burgers come in plain, cheddar, bacon, and our newest seasoning, all dressed. All you need to prepare is the grill, because your job is fire and our job is flavor. And right now, they're only $8.99 a pound. For this and more great summer deals, check our flyer at safeway.ca. Sale ends May 20th. Variety may vary by store.
That's the way.
You haven't set your lineup yet, right? It's Fantasy Frenzy with Halley and Douglas on Sports 1440.
Presented by Wilhauk Beef Jerky, home of Alberta's best beef jerky.
(11:01). Good morning. Thank you for joining us here on Fantasy Frenzy. Hope everyone's having a great day. Connor Halley, Brandon Douglas, Josh Fenwick with you here. This show brought to you by Wilhauk Beef Jerky, home of Alberta's best beef jerky, online at wilhaukbeefjerky.com. Where do we begin? Well, let's just say you can text us 1-833-401-1440. I'm sure you guys all know that. The text box humming right now with the news or the words, the lack thereof from Oilers general manager Stan Bowman. People fired up. It was made official. I mean, the worst kept secret since, I don't even know. Watergate, Duke says. Maybe since like when Peter Chiarelli was spotted at a downtown restaurant before being hired. Everyone knew. It was being reported that it could happen as early as last night. Didn't happen. The reports were this morning that he would be fired. The Oilers do make it official. And now the search for a head coach begins. I think that might be the focal point because Kev Carius broke it down great. I thought that we didn't get too much from Stan Bowman. I walked into the studio. Josh said, "What did you think of the presser?" And I say the exact same thing I thought at the end of the year presser. I don't care what they say. I want to see what they do. The words at this point don't matter. I also heard the comparison to politicians. Yeah, that's what it is. Let's see what they do. I want to see who's the hire. Who's it going to be? What changes are made for this team? But right now, you should be fed up. Let us know how you're feeling. 1-833-401-1440. The list continues. The Edmonton Oilers, of course. Let's just go back to the Connor McDavid era. Tom McClellan was there. Had a pretty good run. 15-19. Then they bring in Ken Hitchcock. Comes in to help out. Dave Tippett brought in. There was some success there. Then it's Jay Woodcroft. Started to turn things around. That didn't go well. That was like right at the start of Sports 1440. I believe it was November. We launched in September. The Duke and I came in during a Sunday of NFL football to do a immediate show. We recapped the firing of Jay Woodcroft. Chris Knobloch brought in. All we heard was, it's McDavid's decision. And that's a type of nepotism. He's just bringing in his guy. Takes them to 2 consecutive Stanley Cup finals within a couple games of winning. Doesn't happen. They lose. The rest is history. Duke this year, at the start of the year, and I only bring it up because I remember saying it multiple times, like, what do you want to see out of this Oilers team? I want to see them win the division. I want to see a run at the President's Trophy. Like, have that mindset. We got to be top dogs from the start of the season to the end. We have to be the best team in hockey in the regular season, and it wasn't there. They're eliminated after one round. There were factors. You can say they're excuses, but they were factors. There was injuries that led into it, and a good up-and-coming Ducks team that ended it. Now the Edmonton Oilers making some changes. My question to people will be, who are you looking at? We'll have plenty of time to break down the Stan Bowman press conference. I know Lotad and Gregor will talk about it. My question to you, the listener, who are your top 3 picks to be the next head coach of the Edmonton Oilers? I'm taking this from Low Tide because he put it out there, and I'm sure he'll talk about it on his show. But I wanted to do it first. Bruce Cassidy, David Carl, Jay Woodcroft, Todd Nelson are Low Tides 1 through 4. I'm only going to ask for your 1 through 3. Bruce Cassidy, I'm down with. I do like him. I really enjoyed listening to him post-game when the Oilers and Golden Knights played. Loved his honesty. David Carl, been with the University of Denver for a long time. Like a long time. Worked his way up from an assistant coach, become the head coach. So 2 natties now he's got there, Duke. They've had some success. Jay Woodcroft for Low Tide. We know. I don't think that's likely at all. That's just me. And then Todd Nelson, a guy who we do love in Edmonton, I think. Took over for a while. A great hockey coach. I don't know what the biggest factor is that has prevented him from becoming a head coach in the NHL. But he seems to be a guy that people like. So, Duke, if I were to ask you, and you are not an Oilers fan, so you can take that element out of it, who do you think makes sense for the Edmonton Oilers as their next head coach? Because, and I'll say this, we've probably said this a bunch of times leading up, but with Connor McDavid on a 2-year deal, if things don't go well next year, you start to have to entertain that possibility of a trade.
Mm-hmm.
You can't lose him for nothing if things don't go well. So this is probably the most important offseason, and we've said that before, for Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers here. So that being said, who do you like?
Listen, it's the name that started all of this. I do think that Bruce Cassidy does seem like the logical fit to what this team needs right now. A little bit of a sterner voice. Listen, you don't got to be friends. You don't got to be best friends with your players when you're a coach, but you have to have them respect you. He should command that as a Stanley Cup champion. He'd been to a final prior to that with a different team as well. He's clearly found a way to get the best out of the talents available to him. Yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights were kind of, I don't know if scuffling along is the right word, but they were kind of right there with the rest of this really weak Pacific Division. And guess what? They still found a way to finish at the top of it. Big part and thanks to a very strong finish the past, 10 games was it, once John Tortorella took over. So, let's keep that in mind. But he's had a ton of success pretty much everywhere he's been. Now, all coaches are hired to be fired. And it's funny, it's been brought up a lot about a guy like Cassidy and the short shelf life that he brings, right? Because he is demanding. He's seemingly a little bit of a harder nosed type coach that asks a lot of his players and is in turn hard on them. But, and I was guilty of this too, right? Saying, if that's true, does that matter for the Oilers? If he is only the coach here for 2 or 3 years, well, that's kind of the window they're operating in, is it not? And the ability to get the best out of the players that you have on hand, your best ones in particular, is maybe exactly what the group needs. Now, with that being said, what else is out there? I know the Craig Berube name has since been let go by Toronto yesterday. I floated it to Schlemmer and Kevin yesterday, brought it up again with Kevin and Laddie today. Texters chiming in. It seems a little bit more mixed there, but a little bit more pushback on a name like that. But let's once again visit it. Stanley Cup ring in the bag with the St. Louis team that he took from last place in the NHL to eventual Stanley Cup champions. A very unlikely run. Now, difference there. Has he worked with the super high-end elite players and had success with them, like, say, Cassidy has back in Boston and then in Vegas? St. Louis was a really good team. But if you figure their best player was Ryan O'Reilly, even at his best, he wasn't anywhere close in the sphere of superstar that a guy like Leon Draisaitl or Connor McDavid is. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Maybe to each their own interpretation of asking star players to play a little bit more like role players at times, whether it be their defensive commitment, their dedication to a system, to a structure. He didn't have a ton of success in his time with the Maple Leafs where he had that higher end skill set. Matthews, Nylander, and of course the 1 year of Mitch Marner. But I would be interested in Craig Berube as an option for this team. And then finally, I'm going to go for a guy that we haven't heard from a ton in the last couple of years, and that's Peter Laviolette. Another, listen, I am a huge advocate for fresh faces, giving new coaches opportunities, whether that be promotions from the American League, from junior, from college, assistant coaches that have been playing their trade. But circumstance matters. And the Edmonton Oilers right now are not in a spot to have some guy come in who has no experience as a head coach at the NHL level. Laviolette brings a ton of that. He's been around. He's a lifer in the game. Stanley Cup on his resume as well, although we're talking when out 22 or 20 years ago, I guess, right? When he won, beat the Oilers with that Carolina club. So it's a pretty chalk list. I'm not trying to break the wheel here or reinvent it, but those would be the three names that I'm circling if the Oilers. But to me, it honestly starts and ends with Bruce Cassidy, if I'm being very, very frank about it.
I would agree. I mean, that's how we kind of got to this position, that being leaked out.
This is what started it all. You might as well at least circle that drain until it goes down.
And, you know, I mean, heck, maybe they did speak. Maybe they needed the permission to hire. I don't know if that was the case or not. But, you know, Lavallette's an interesting one. You bring up the Stanley Cup. We know. Missed the playoffs in his other 3 years there before being fired, but then went to Philly, took him to a Stanley Cup final, lost conference semifinal back-to-back years, went over to the Nashville Predators. It was 5 straight playoff appearances, one in the final when they lost to Pittsburgh, and then with the Washington Capitals, 2 years into the playoffs, losing in the first round, missed the playoffs. We know his time with the Rangers wasn't fantastic. So that's another name that I've seen floating out there a little bit. Let's go into the inbox here, 1833. Get your thoughts. What do you guys think? Kyle says Cassidy and Carl, that's it. I wonder if the Carl name has been popped up. People might just be like, you know, no NHL experience. How much is that going to weigh into this one? Richard says Paul Coffey. Cody has Cassidy, Daryl Sutter, Malhotra. Manu Malhotra spending time with the Vancouver Canucks organization. Gord Oil texting in. Bruce Cassidy. As my text line is moving very slowly here, dude.
Well, it's getting overloaded.
Daryl Sutter and Berube. Sutter's another one that's been kind of interesting. Hey, being popped up as a guy who can come in and, like you said, not be your friend. Turn this thing around. James from the Hood commenting a little bit on Bowman here. Sounds like he's getting a free pass, but I think is totally BS. He made some terrible moves, especially the Jari trade plus the Frederick 8-year contract. I don't trust him to make us better. Jackson should get his walking papers as well. These 2 summers with these clowns have been a nightmare. That being said, Cassidy, Carl, and Berube. How about playoff Kulak scoring the game winner last night, Duke? Hey,
I'll be honest, Connor. I thought of you immediately as I was watching it. I got home from slow pitch just in time for overtime. Sat down, and it did not last very long.
No.
A handful of minutes, and it was really breakneck back and forth for the few minutes it was played. And as soon as he scored, I just thought, playoff Kulak. Connor is one of Connor's favorite phrases to utter on these airwaves going back to the past couple playoff runs for the Oilers. I had to even tweet it out in your honor as well. So great to see. Can't help but feel good for a guy. He had a great game at both ends of the ice. 27 minutes, I think it was his total log by the time it was all said and done. And it's kind of just a perfect bow almost on these past 48 hours for the Oilers organization, where you traded him away, got essentially zero return, and he was just part of a throw-in to make the money work in this acquisition of a goaltender that was not your starter in the stretch of the season and did play a playoff game, but more so as a token start almost, I think, to try and change the mojo a little bit.
If they win the cup and he brings it home, we got to get some playoff Kulak shirts made up and try to get out to his party. I don't see why he would invite us, but it would be cool. And it is funny just on the, the topic of this team and the GM. You go back and you look at that trade, Duke. That was one that on Fantasy Frenzy, we were not thrilled with. Felt like a lateral move, but then you factor in giving up the second pick. You factor in trading away Brett Kulak. So the Pittsburgh Penguins in that trade, obviously they clear their hands of some salary going forward because Tristan Jarry is under contract in the future. So Skinner's not. So now they're done with him. They were able to bring in a second pick, and then they go out and they swap Kulak to the Colorado Avalanche just to bring in more. Not going to say masterclass by any means, but it's certainly
well executed by Kyle Dubas.
Well executed, and the Edmonton Oilers now lose a second round pick. They lost a great playoff performer, and now they have salary for the next couple of years here for a goalie who could bounce back. Not going to rule it out and say it's impossible, but man, hindsight being 2020, and some of us who at the time didn't like it either. That's not looking too great. 1-833-401-1440. We're moving past the press conference. That's going to be a discussion a lot with Lowtide and Gregor, I am sure. But my question for you, the listener, 1-833-401-1440. Who do you like as the next head coach of the Edmonton Oilers? Cassidy would be the overwhelming favorite here. a name that did get sprinkled in here, Duke, was Gerard Gallant. And he's another guy who, I feel like the term shelf life is more applicable to he than Cassidy. Like, he's a couple years, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to work out. We talked about him, how he was unceremoniously let go and had to hop in a cab. It was kind of the shot that made it look pretty bad for the Florida Panthers. What do you think of that name?
Well, it's funny because, also seemingly a shorter shelf life, but every time he's been let go, people are surprised because, and Schlemko said this yesterday, like every player that he's talked to that has played for Gallant loves him. Says he is like players coach all the way through, really likable guy, good coach. Like he's had success, coming up just short on a couple different occasions, obviously. The only thing there is he available to coach? He left, he was most recently coaching the KHL and left that job due to health concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was a year or so ago. I have to double check that. I looked it up the other day and it was always going to escape me when that actually was. But has he rebounded from that? Or was it a matter of, being back home, not coaching overseas? I think he was actually coaching the China team in the KHL, if my memory serves correct. So the opportunity to come back home and, rest, recover. So that I will say is a little bit of a factor in the Gallant conversation. But if he is healthy and ready to go, I'd be interested. But it's so funny how much we talk about experience, and experience for experience sake can get you so far. But having cleared that hurdle of actually lifting the Stanley Cup over your head, how much does that matter for a team that is the only thing they have left to accomplish, and a core group of players? That's all they have left to accomplish. They don't have any of those players on this team anymore, right? Tristan Jarry won it as a third goaltender with the Penguins, because both Matt Murray and Marc-Andre Fleury were playing the games that year and in the playoffs. You move on from a guy like Corey Perry, who had it. They don't have that type of experience. So do you need that from a coach, even if it is that, like, guys that have been to the finals, been so close and won everything else there is to win? It's so sports cliche, but to have somebody there that knows what it takes at the ice level. Stan Bowman, very impressive resume. But based on the text line in particular right now, I don't know if a lot of people are weighing or putting a lot of stock into that, because if they had their way, he'd be looking for a new job today as well.
Man, you mentioned Corey Perry and Evander Kane. That was another one I didn't love at the time. I understood that, there were some questions around that, but to let those guys go and bring in a Mangiapane, in hindsight, not great. Duff says, this team is a coach killer. Who would want to come here and coach a team knowing you're out in 2 to 3 years? Well, Duff, I think that the tantalizing thing would be you have a team that made 2 of the last 3 Stanley Cup finals. You have McDavid and Draisaitl and Bouchard and, Nuge, Hyman. I think there's temptation there. And I think that you don't have that mindset that I'm going to be fired. Your mindset as a elite head coach would be, I'm going to go there and win a couple maybe. And then we'll see what happens after that. I think that's how they would approach it, rather than I'm going to go here to get fired. But at the same time, getting paid is nice. So maybe it's also that. Even if I do last 2 years, a couple mil each year, pad the bank account, that's not too shabby. Jord from Clyde says, Cassidy Torts assumed he's not married to Vegas, and Jason Smith, head coach of the Edmonton Oil Kings, stay in the organization. Shay from Hamilton, top 3 in this order are Bruce Cassidy, Gerard Gallant, and David Carl. Cassidy and Gallant specific to usurping Vegas, as they will have vengeance on their mind. Also for the defensive structure. Cassidy most, though, for one specific reason. The Oilers need to meet their goal. They didn't finish first in the division, and they sloughed it off. Enough. Set a goal and achieve it. Heck yeah, Shay. That last half for me. Win the division. Like, how did you not win the division this year? Just playing to the competition, hanging around, doing your thing. 2 winning streaks longer than 3 games. 1 exactly 3 games. Something. Bryce also texted in Gerard Gallant. We talked about that one. Hey, we'll take a break here. When we come back, we'll get to more of your texts. Lots to get to. 1-833-401-1440. In case you missed it earlier today, the Edmonton Oilers making it official. Chris Knobloch no longer with the organization. They're moving on. He's got 3 years left on his deal. The contract, technically, I don't believe has even started yet. It's crazy. But they will be paying a new head coach next year. Let us know your thoughts, who you think it could be. 1-833-401-1440. It's Fantasy Frenzy, brought to you by Wilhock Beef Jerky.
And here comes Action Electrical Service Team sprinting onto the scene. These are your first responders for any electrical emergency.
That's right. With their fleet of service vans and specialized gear, they assess, they service, and maintain electrical lighting and automation systems. They're all about rapid response.
Quick diagnostics and repairs to restore power and safety fast. Hire the Action Electrical team to bring home a win for your project. Visit actionelectrical.net.
When my husband and I said until death do us part, I never expected to find myself at the doorstep of divorce. I was facing an uncertain financial future, expensive lawyer bills, and most importantly, I was concerned for the well-being of my kids. My spouse and I turned to Fairway Divorce Solutions for help. Fairway walked us through a step-by-step process, allowing us to develop a clear roadmap to resolve financial concerns and provide a proactive co-parenting strategy. It helped us avoid chaos and courtrooms.
For a no-cost consultation, visit fairwaydivorce.com.
At Hughes, it's all about getting in and out quick and clean. No cash, no problem. With Hughes' new tap and wash system, all you need is your debit or credit card to get your vehicle sparkling clean.
Find us at HughesCarWash.com.
In Alberta, every family has a baseball game day tradition for the summer.
We always bring our gloves to the ballpark.
We always keep score.
We always bring Wilhock Beef Jerky.
Some things change, but the best home run snack never does.
Wilhock Beef Jerky.
Whether you're watching from your recliner or the stands, make it a part of your summer ball game tradition.
Wilhock Beef Jerky. Because you don't win games with salad. Only available in Leduc.
Hear that? That's your entry calling. Go Auto is sending you to the biggest football event in the world, live in Vancouver, with tickets, flights, and a hotel stay for two. To enter the contest, just text GAME to 780-777-7777. That's GAME to 780 all sevens. Go Auto, get in the game.
The longest running basketball show in Canada airs every Saturday morning at 10 on Sports 1440. Hoop City with Paul Sir introduces a new generation of basketball talk, and it's right here on Edmonton's home for sports, Sports 1440.
Millions and millions of Canadians do not have a doctor. We have a crisis. Canada's Medical Clinic is opening clinics across Canada to allow everyone to have a doctor to call their own. Early detection saves lives. We've got some great news. You can call now and book an appointment with your new doctor. Canada'sMedicalClinic.com. And more good news. Canada's Medical Clinic Windermere is also now a walk-in clinic. We'll see you there.
Whether you're refinancing or buying your first home, mortgages are easier with help from a neighbor. At Vision Credit Union, you get face-to-face guidance from local lenders who know the market because, well, they live here too. They'll look at your whole financial picture with practical advice for payments, renewals, refinancing, and what makes sense long-term. Get a more neighborly mortgage. Contact your branch today or visit visioncu.ca.
From the local rinks to homes and businesses across the province, Alberta's rural natural gas utilities are here to fuel life affordably, reliably, and safely. We're members of the Federation of Alberta Gas Co-ops, providing natural gas to keep our rural neighborhoods warm and connected every day. It's local, dependable, and it's ours. To learn more about the Federation of Alberta Gas Co-ops and our members, and how natural gas fuels your community, visit fedgas.com. Alberta's energy. Game on.
Who should start? Who needs to hit the bench? Find out with Fantasy Frenzy with Halley and Douglas. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by Wilhock Beef Jerky, home of Alberta's best beef jerky.
Little Hanson to bring us back. It's Fantasy Frenzy, brought to you by Wilhock Beef Jerky, home of Alberta's best beef jerky online. WilhockBeefJerky.com. Only available in Leduc. Go check them out. Maybe you're stress eating. Maybe you're happy the changes have been made. Whatever the occasion, it's always a good time to go get some Wilhock beef jerky. Connor Halley, Brandon Douglas, Josh Fenwick with you here in the Sports 1440 studios. Kind of a gloomy day out there. Elks training camp rolling on. Declan Kruger out there in the poncho, braving it. He'll give you an update on what's happening with the green and gold. Yesterday it was crazy. They cut 5 receivers. They still have 16 on the roster. Long way to go here before that final roster is set. We'll take your text to 1-833-401-1440 for elksnation.ca. 2-weekly podcast, of course, with Declan Kruger and champion at every level, Eddie Steele. Breaking down the green and gold, the roster, the upcoming schedule. Plus, you can head to the website, get articles, and more. elksnation.ca. We did ask you just who you would like potentially to take over before we get to that. Greater Man Jay had said I could see Knobloch coaching with Toronto with the analytics. Yeah, we'll see. I do think he's going to get some calls for sure. We'll see what the right situation becomes. Steve says, Carl is the one for me, Cassidy too. I'd make a long-term deal with Carl. He needs financial security if he's going to leave Denver. Give him 5 to 6 years and a good chunk each year. Well, I mean, geez, they're paying you're paying Knobloch for a while. We'll see what happens with his future. Maybe he lands another job, but that's going to be when I think you got to do your due diligence. I would love to, if I'm on that committee to make this hire, I'd love to bring him in, pick his brain, see what he thinks of the team for sure. There's a lot of guys I'd be doing that with. BC Oilers says Berube really only had good 6 months riding Binnington's hot goaltending to the 2019 Cup. Would you say that's fair? Because there is no doubt like they were a bad team. Did they go on a 18-game winning streak to get back into playoff contention? And then we know what they did. Plus that song Gloria was playing all the time.
Yeah, that was all the fuel they needed.
That's probably what did it all.
Song
but
rocks.
If you go back and look, so as a head coach, he was an assistant for a long time. We got the head coaching job with the Philadelphia Flyers, lost in round 1, out of the playoffs. Back, won with the Blues after being promoted from an associate position. Lost in round 1, lost in round 1, lost in round 2, out of the playoffs, let go. Following year brought in by the Maple Leafs. They lost in round 2. So close to beating the Panthers. Really didn't happen. And then this past season, 32 and 36 before they made the change. So that's a fair point. I mean, he did get the Blues back in the playoffs, but in that time only won one round. But he's a name that I think people will still like to look at. Danny says, Filthy Bruce. Could you imagine Bruce Boudreau in Edmonton?
Hey, I really like when he was coaching the Ducks. It was awesome.
Yeah,
they had a ton of success, but Boudreau's big thing was playoff success and kind of coming up short there a lot because he likes to play a little bit more of a open system, to put it lightly, which was great for the high flying Capitals, right? The Mike Green, Ovechkin, Backstrom. Who was the Simeon? Alex Simeon.
Oh yeah,
40 goal man several times over, and he scored 40 with Carolina too after the fact. If I recall correctly. And then in Anaheim, same thing. Now, there was a little bit of a different team the Ducks were because they were a little bit more rough and tumble, but came up short in the playoffs despite some pretty good expectations too. They got back to conference finals once they brought back Randy Carlyle again. So I don't. Well, is he a name that's going to be on the list? I'll be honest, I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, but I'm with you. I don't think that's one of them. Nick says Jason Smith as an assistant. I mean, there'd be good things he would bring, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see for sure. Well, what the new head coach want to do. Nick M says Cassidy, Todd Nelson, Laviolette. Just quickly, side tangent here. How much of a you're making this hire? Obviously, the owner's going to be involved a little bit. Stan Bowman, maybe Keith Gretzky. Are you making that call to Connor McDavid? Leon Draisaitl?
To get the green light or an actual thought, insight or weighing in on
a little bit, because I mean, hey, you would probably, and they all have connections with players that would have played under these guys. You'd have some thoughts on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Schlemko talked to guys. What did you think about this coach? Or if you're management, you say, we got this. Don't worry about it. Or maybe Connor McDavid says that. You guys make the job. It's your job. You make the hire. Kajan says, Bowman history with Quenneville. Who's the most similar candidate? Well, he's not getting Quenneville, obviously. Rockford says, Coach Cassidy, bad cop. Assistant coach Shane Doan, good cop.
I think Doan's more, and I mean, you look at what he's done so far. Like he didn't go the coaching route. He went the executive route, right? That's more, I think, his aspirations is to be a general manager as opposed to a head coach.
Yeah.
In the league. But I kind of like the process, right? And that's not an unfamiliar dynamic in the coaching world, is that maybe your head coach is a hard ass and then, one of the assistants are kind of more buddy with the players, right?
Yeah. So many texts going in here. Kenneth says Ted Nolan. Last time, did he coach the Islanders a while ago?
He won the Jack Adams with the Sabres, right?
So he won it with the Sabres. Then it was out of hockey for a while. Came back with the Islanders for a couple of years. Out of hockey for a while. Back with the Sabres. Didn't have much success in his 2 years there. But did win the Jack Adams in 97. I'd probably put that on the unlikely as well. Just looked at some AI on Cassidy's defense over Knobloch's, and it's pointed at a better suppression, and goaltenders would benefit from an easier workload. Well, these are the things we know. That would make things a little bit easier. We saw that in Edmonton firsthand, right? Didn't matter who the goalie was. Taking away shooting lanes always led to better goaltending. And there's some parallels there. I think you look at all the top goalies in the league with the best statistics, you're probably going to see that. Matt Leduc says, any chance Vigneault comes out of retirement?
Ooh. That's a name that I haven't heard in a while.
It's been a long time.
I don't know. Like, if you're Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson right now, are you, and just maybe for lack of a better expression here, are you trying to get cute with it, with this hire? Or are you, because if you go way off the board, and I get it, these are names we know, but they're also names, some of these ones we floated there have not coached in the NHL for a number of years. And in which case, a lot of years for some of these guys. If you get that hire wrong, is it more of an indictment than if you go with one of these names that we kind of are more familiar with and fit the mold? But let's just use Bruce Cassidy or Craig Berube as the two premier examples, right? There's other guys. I don't want that to be lost in my point here. But is it regardless of what coach, if it doesn't work, that your time with the organization is also over? I think that might be a fair assumption. But at the same time, do you get more leeway if you hire Bruce Cassidy and you come up just short, as opposed to hiring Alain Vigneault, who has not coached in the NHL for how many years?
2021-22 was his last year.
So
with Philly.
4 years since he was last in the NHL, and he also don't win. I don't know the answer to that question because I'm not Daryl Cates, but I don't know. I just think it's maybe the safer bet than going a little bit more off the board for one of those other guys.
I mean, he had a lot of good runs with,
the Canucks and the Rangers. He was excellent, right? There's no doubt about it.
Won around in Philly, then missed the playoffs the next 2 years. That's a name I, like you said, haven't heard of in a long time and kind of forgot about. When I think of him, I just think of him laughing
at Fiddler's impersonation of Bieksa.
Yeah, 100%.
All-timer.
Jeffrey says, my number one choice would be Peter Laviolette. He runs a fast-paced offense. His defensive game is very effective. I think the Oilers roster would complement his game plan. Jimmy says, hi, guys. How do you fire a guy who took the team to the Stanley Cup Finals twice? There's coaches who have much worse records, and they still have their jobs. Oilers are just grasping at straws now. Well, I guess they just deemed it wasn't good enough. And I think any coach would have had a tough time just with the health of the Oilers at this point of the season. It was a tough go. I mean, we talked about it, Duke. Like, the Ducks were, I'm not going to say totally healthy, but feeling pretty good in this series.
Mm-hmm.
The Oilers, like, it was noticeable. And they, there's obviously adjustments that had to be made, but no, maybe. I don't know why I think this, but don't rule out John Cooper. Jan, a longtime happy listener.
Well, Jan, I think we can, based on Tampa Bay saying he's not going anywhere.
There's only one coach that's been traded in
the
NHL history.
Really?
Yeah. I have to, because like the big one that we remember in the NFL, like Sean Payton, and we saw John Gruden. So I was looking it up, and I wish I had it. It's just giving me NHL teams. I believe it was the Rangers that made the trade. But I don't know, Duke. Maybe you can find it here. Michael Bergeron.
Okay.
Was
any
traded.
relation to Marc-Andre or Patrice?
Grandfather.
Okay.
No idea, actually. But yeah, he was traded from to the Rangers for a first-round pick and $75,000 from the Nordiques, I believe. So it's happened. I don't know if CBA now. I just wanted to provide that little tidbit of information that a coach has been traded before. MMH says, who would want to come here and work here when you get treated like that, finding out after the fact? Well, remember, MMH, we've pointed it out, Gerard Gallant got a pretty unceremonious firing from the Florida Panthers. A couple of years later, they're winning Stanley Cups. I think head coaches will take that risk of being fired for the opportunity to win a cup. And when you look at this Oilers roster on paper and, the talent they have, I'd say it's a pretty good group of guys. Michelle says, I would say a coach that holds players accountable, even the superstars. I know it's a point that Gregor brought up a couple of times, going back to the first time when Leon was kind of taking undisciplined penalties and Chris Knobloch, there's the name. Chris Knobloch sat him down for a few shifts. It was just a few minutes, but the message was sent. You didn't take any more undisciplined penalties. This year, you didn't really see it. And it doesn't have to be you're sitting in the press box, but a couple shifts here and there. Just say, man,
just because
can't be doing that.
Just because Evan Bouchard makes some glaring and obvious mistakes in a game that you end up losing as a result of those, he's your best defenseman. You're not going to sit him in the press box for the next game. As much as fans sometimes want that to be the case, that's not going to happen. Now, do we want to maybe see some more accountability in the sense that, you make those mistakes, the same mistakes, time and time again, where you don't appear to be learning from them or trying to avoid them at a higher rate, then maybe at that time, sitting a few shifts or missing the next trip out on the power play where they play essentially the entire 2 minutes every time. Is that a message that you can send to your players and say, hey, this isn't going unnoticed, right? I am aware of you doing this over and over again, and not responding to what I'm telling you, what an assistant coach is telling you, what we're trying to coach you into doing to make you a better player. You're not going to listen. All right, well, maybe I'll put somebody out there that does.
And it can be so effective, right? It's got especially for a superstar. It sends a great message to the team, hey, nobody's above this, but also these guys want to be out there in those situations. By sitting them down for a couple shifts, I want to play, I got to stop taking stupid penalties. And it worked. Just a couple of quick ones here. Laura says, the coaching debacle started before Knobloch. They could have promoted Gulletson, could have kept more of the 2024 final roster. We lost approximately 68%. This is on Jackson and Holland era choices. Bowman didn't enhance much. Not great moves, and in front of the bench, Cassidy for 2 years might get it done. Laviolette also an interesting option. Dirty Doug says, curious as to why a coach winning a cup is a necessity. And the last 23-24 is to win it with two different teams. Why not a no-name coach? Dirty Doug, you're right. That's another point Gregor brings up a lot. It hasn't happened. Now, to me, I don't say it can't happen. I still think you got to hire the best candidate, but I wouldn't be blinded because, someone won a cup 15 years ago. That makes them so much better. That doesn't matter in 2026.
Yeah. And
get the best candidate.
It's a good question, Doug. And I know I made a pretty good emphasis on that when listening out, guys that I would have on my list of pursuing if I were the Oilers. And I don't know if it's just the Oilers and the good collection of this team, particularly the best players, have been to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. You lost both times. You came as close as near anybody can to winning it all. But is there a single player on the team that was playing in the playoffs this year that has a Stanley Cup on their from playing. Like, right? Is Tristan Jarry the only player on the team that had Stanley Cups? One?
Yeah, I believe so.
And he was the third goalie on that team. Like, it's almost like an intangible thing that's hard to quantify until you see it in action, right? And look at like Vegas, the Golden Knights right now, this series against Anaheim. The Ducks have outplayed them for the vast majority, but now Vegas finds themselves one win away from advancing because you can see that experience, that pedigree of knowing what it takes. And that's a catch-all expression that probably gets overused, right? Whatever it takes. But as is the case with most cliches, it's for a reason. It's true. So I'm not saying it has to be a coach that has a Stanley Cup already in the trophy case. But for me, just me personally, I think it would help this team because they don't have that factor anywhere else at ice level.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I would just I want the best candidate. Coincidentally, the best candidates right now
Are all guys that
have all
that.
won cups in the past.
And to the second part of that, why not a no-name coach? Example, Dan Muse. Well, yeah, that's as I said, I'm all for that. I love it. I hate seeing the same guys over and over again. But for a team that has such a small window, do you want a guy that's going to have potentially a year of feeling it out process? Like, yeah, the Penguins had a great season, exceeded every expectation set out for them. But they still lost in the first round. And they've got a pretty good collection of superstar players, too. At this point, we know Letang, Karlsson, Malkin, Crosby, they're not what the Oilers currently possess, for sure. But, I just don't think you can have another spot of growing pains for a guy that's finding his footing in the case of a first-time head coach. That would be my pushback on the no-name or fresh-face potential candidate.
Yeah. When he has to make that call going into Game 7, does he know what to do, what to make? Been there before, done that.
Yeah.
We'll
Had your feet
see.
to the fire, faced the music before. It's a new name doesn't necessarily have that in their bag.
We'll take a quick break. When we get back, more text 1-833-401-1440. In case you're just tuning in, you slept in. The Edmonton Oilers officially parting ways with head coach Chris Knobloch. Stan Bowman spoke to the media. We're going to bypass that right now because I think there's going to be a lot of discussion about that press conference. And to be honest, not a whole lot was said. So we're asking you, who do you think should be the next head coach of the Edmonton Oilers? It's a crucial decision. Let us know. 1-833-401-1440. It's Fantasy Frenzy, brought to you by Wilhock Beef Jerky.
With Play Alberta, backing the home team goes beyond the bets. That's because your picks have provincial impact. Play Alberta is the only app in the province that puts all revenue directly back into supporting programs and services that Albertans rely on every day. By investing in the General Revenue Fund, every play, bet, and buy made on Play Alberta helps make a difference across the province. It feels good to know your fund goes further at home. Visit playalberta.ca/Gregor to learn more. Must be 18 plus to play. If you gamble, use your game sense.
New at Papa John's, the spinach Alfredo chicken tomato pizza. Say it with me now. Spinach Alfredo sauce, grilled chicken, fresh Roma tomatoes, all on our fresh, never frozen pizza dough. 4 favorites, 1 pizza. So let's run it back. The spinach Alfredo chicken tomato pizza. Right now, a large for just $18.99. Delivery or carry out. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
Attention Alberta construction pros. For over 50 years, Japa Equipment Rentals has been your go-to for top-notch equipment and stellar service. Whether you need rentals or expert maintenance, we've got you covered. Stop by our Edmonton or Calgary locations today.
Hi, I'm Mike here from Northgate Chevrolet Buick GMC.
No one's ever accused car shopping to be fun. I mean, think about it. Awkward standoffs to get a price. Let me go talk to my manager. Dealers asking for your credit card, then melting your phone if you say no. See, not fun. At Northgate, I promise you a different experience. We make it fun. And you will like us, I promise. 0% financing, a great selection of new and pre-owned units. So for some fun, stop in today. 13215 97th Street or visit us online at northgategm.com.
You're in Northgate country.
Cantork has turned 25. That's right, 25 years of building tools so good, they practically torque themselves. Hard work and innovation equals problem solved. See our latest designs at cantork.com.
Get ready for a night of rock with the Gene Simmons Band.
Monday, November 30th at Silent Ice Center in Nisku. The Gene Simmons Band, performing your favorite classic hits. Monday, November 30th at Silent Ice Center in Nisku. Tickets on sale now at silenticecenter.com. Don't miss the Gene Simmons Band.
I'm good to go. Good to go. With Mortgages to Go, you'll be good to go. Mortgagestogo.ca says yes when the banks say no. That's why Alberta has trusted Mortgages to Go for over 23 years. If you need cash and have equity in your home, you're approved instantly, guaranteed. Call 1-888-888-5998. That's 1-888-888-5998. With Mortgages to Go, you'll say, I'm good to go.
The longest running basketball show in Canada airs every Saturday morning at 10 on Sports 1440. Hoop City with Paul Sir introduces a new generation of basketball talk, and it's right here on Edmonton's home for sports, Sports 1440.
Real protection starts from the ground up. Timberland Pro Boondock Boots provide industrial-grade protection and legendary durability. Their new BOA series give you unmatched fit and performance coupled with all-day anti-fatigue comfort. Find the largest selection of Timberland Boondock BOAs at all 3 of our Edmonton job site workwear locations and online at jobsiteworkwear.ca.
Job site workwear, tough gear for tough jobs.
Is your business ready to grow? Not sure how? We have your solution. We are Stingray. Whether your customers are around the corner or across the country, Stingray connects you with radio to digital advertising, including connected TV, search and social, programmatic, digital advertising, and digital out of home. From idea to execution, we've got you covered. With creative and production, cross-platform integration, detailed reporting, and one-on-one support, it's the easy way to make your business grow. Get started now at stingraymediasolutions.com.
Every coach needs a game plan. Plan your fantasy frenzy with Halley and Douglas right here on Edmonton's Sports 1440.
Presented by Wilhauk Beef Jerky, home of Alberta's best beef jerky.
It's 11:47. Welcome back to Fantasy Frenzy here. Connor Halley, Brandon Douglas, Josh Fenwick. Brought to you by Wilhauk Beef Jerky, home of Alberta's best beef jerky. Online at wilhaukbeefjerky.com. Go pay him a visit. Tell him we sent you. What else are you doing today? Just drive around, listen to Sports 1440, and eat beef jerky. Sounds like a heck of a day. Coming up next, it'll be the Lowdown with Low Tide. Of course, there'll be a knee-deep in Oilers talk as they look at all that's happening today on the show. I think I've got the lineup here. I think Declan put it out there. Bagged milk, rumors, and Declan CFL. Of course, he's down at Elks practice again. A little bit of a gloomy day. Then from 2 to 6, it is the Jason Gregor show. Now, this is just randomly. We had this booked earlier. Taylor Hall's going to join us. Guys lighting it up for the Carolina Hurricanes right now. Of course, at 2:20, we'll talk Oilers. We've got David Owens from Sherbrooke Liquor. I don't know if it's going to be sad drinks or celebratory drinks, but booze can be consumed. Terry Ryan will join us, share his thoughts. We've got Cam Tate, Landon Ferraro, our pre- and post-game analyst, former NHLer, Spec, and then a DVD special hit as he's down in Anaheim covering the Vegas Golden Knights and Oilers series, Ducks. But we want to make sure we get his thoughts on it as well. So make sure you keep it locked here on Sports 1440 for the rest of the day. Text here, no name guy, says, hey guys, just tuned in. Unsure if you brought it up, but only 3 coaches in NHL history have won a cup as a head coach with the other team. Well, with 2 teams gone on to win another one. Scotty Bowman has won. The other 2 are guys from the 40s. Yeah, I mean, Gregor's brought that up plenty of times. That was kind of why he said you don't have to recycle coaches. Doesn't happen very often. Scotty Bowman was on the Gregor show a while ago. I think he could still do it. I think maybe they got to bring in Scotty.
Maybe that. And hey, got the inside track. His son's the general manager.
Yeah. Connect them.
Just like, hey, Dad, do us a favor.
Do us a favor and go solidify yourself
as the GOAT.
The GOAT.
As if there were already any doubts.
Yeah, it's crazy. Paul Almeida actually messaged me that as well. So It is a thing. It is definitely a thing.
And I get it. I do. But just back to reaffirm one more time, it's like, give me the two options. Give me the two options. First-time head coach. And there's a lot of in-betweens here. Do not get me wrong. First-time NHL head coach, veteran coach with a Stanley Cup ring on his finger. I know, given the current spot the Oilers are in, I know what direction I would want to go if I were the one making the hire. But I'm not. By a lot. By a wide. There's a few steps in between those two things happening. Me sitting here and me hiring the Oilers' next head coach.
The way I look at it, and just the way my brain goes, Duke, you know this. I'm a football guy. So I always think, okay, going back to 2004, let's say Adam Vinatieri misses the game-winning field goal or whatever. Eagles win the Super Bowl.
Go Birds.
He's there till 2011 anyways. The team struggles. He gets fired. Do the Kansas City Chiefs look at it and say, you know what?
The guy's a loser.
Not too many coaches win in one city and not in the next. So let's not look at him. No, you would say this guy's a good coach. So because it hasn't happened in the past doesn't mean it can't happen in the future. And it has happened. If the best coach with your due diligence is someone who has won a Stanley Cup in the last 15 years, then so be it. I'm not hiring for that solely because I don't care what you did 15 years ago. But if you've won a cup and now you're still looking at as a great head coach and someone who can help this team take that next step, then I don't think it's impossible. 1-833-401-1440. Man, so many texts rolling in here. Trevor says, the biggest thing I think the Oilers are missing is someone in the room that can hold McDavid and Leon accountable, like Corey Perry or someone who's been there before. Yeah, Trevor, I mean, I don't disagree with you at all. Like, I don't know if I think it's the biggest thing, but I think that was such a good thing to have. And Corey Perry, love him or hate him, like, he's a hockey player. He does what he has to do. He's been there before. How many times last season, Duke, were we like, man, why is Corey Perry the guy dropping the mitts to get his team back into a fight? Why is nobody else doing it? He's the kind of guy you need. But outside of Corey Perry, like, who else could you bring in to do that? The year previous, Duncan Keith was there, and, he had been through it all. So he was a guy who I think, didn't have to do it publicly, but behind closed doors could have that conversation. At this point, should those guys need it? Like, they've been to 2 Stanley Cup finals. Leon will be 30 this year. McDavid's 29. Like, these are NHL vets. They've been in the league for 10 plus years. Do they need that? At this point, I'd be hoping that they would be doing that to the other guys. Sham said Patrick Waugh might even help with the goaltending. Totally being sarcastic. P.S. Not feeling entirely sorry for Knobs. Getting paid millions not to work definitely softens the blow. I do, but I mean, I think
because you're getting paid, that doesn't mean you don't deserve to be treated like a human being.
It could have been handled better. I will say, like, Duke, the last couple of weeks, we've got so many texts. Fire Knob, get rid of him, blah, blah, blah. And now, everyone, I think, still kind of holds that same sentiment, but it's like, could have treated him better, though. Like, that's kind of bogus the way this happened. Like, the franchise seems like it's taking it on the chin right now.
Yeah.
MTR just texting in Mac T. Thinks he's blacklisted. Not the case.
Do you think Mac T would want to do that?
I don't know. It's a lot to take on. We've got Daryl Sutter. We do have a Patrick Waugh. Is Jacques Lemaire available? Give us Woody or Todd Nelson. There's a lot of names coming in here. But if I scroll through, Duke, you can confirm nor deny this. Looks like Cassidy's the number one contender.
I think it's between him and David Carl, which are kind of those two polar opposite ends of the spectrum that we've kind of been weighing the options of. Yes, Carl's had a lot of success, but never even coached pro hockey.
Brent in the Park says Barry Trotz. There's another one.
Trotzy.
Just flying in here. Guys, thank you for all the text today. We appreciate it. We couldn't even keep up, but keep texting in. We can get to it tomorrow because we will be back in approximately 23 hours. For the Duke and Fenwick, I'm Connor Halley. Check the podcast if you missed it. Give us a like on YouTube or Facebook, and stay tuned. Low Tide, Declan Kruger coming up next. But before all that, we'll get to a Sports 1440 update with the Duke, brought to you by Wilhauk Beef Jerky, home of Alberta's best beef jerky. Online at wilhaukbeefjerky.com. Only available in Leduc.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
In case you missed it earlier on this morning, the Edmonton Oilers officially announcing the firing of head coach Chris Knobloch. Assistant coach Mark Stewart also let go. Knobloch been with the team for the better part of the past 3 seasons, going to the Stanley Cup final, of course, in 2024 and 2025. Tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Sabres hosting the Canadiens for game number 5 of that best of 7. Puck drop just after 5 o'clock with the series knotted at 2 apiece. In the nightcap, 7:30 puck drop for the Golden Knights and Ducks from Anaheim. Ducks trying to keep their season alive as they trail that series 3-2. Vancouver Canucks announcing their new brain trust as Ryan Johnson has been promoted to general manager from his assistant position, while both Daniel and Henrik Sedin will serve as co-presidents of hockey operations. PWHL's Walter Cup finals get underway tonight with Montreal hosting Ottawa for a 5 o'clock puck drop. And in the majors, no Jays today as they're on an off day, but elsewhere, several games already underway, including the Tigers up on the Mets 3-1 in top 4. Padres and Brewers scoreless in the bottom of the first. Mariners and Astros set to get underway shortly. Later on, Red Sox host the Phillies and the Dodgers take on the Giants. From the PGA Championship just outside of Philadelphia, 4-way tie currently atop the leaderboard. Aldrich Pockeider, Steven Jager, Minwoo Lee, and Ryo Hitstasune all at 3 under. Coming up on Sports 1440, it is the Lowdown with Low Tide. I'm Brandon Douglas at your Sports 1440 update.
This is Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6.